So did your family have dealings with the Firebloods then, or?
His family actually tried to thwart these trade deals now and then, to no avail.
Okay.
Until more pressing matters came to hand. And that's when he launches into his spiel about like unholy tentacles reaching from the deeps, abyssal nightmares unseen for centuries, etc., etc. The same kind of thing that his people spew all the time to anybody who will listen.
When was the last time you talked to my father?
He says that he's known the ambassador socially now and then, but they are not friends.
He would tell very similar stories of the history of my own people and the Illithids.
He says that he's long since wondered if the nightmares from the deep oceans and the nightmares from the deep earth are the same nightmares in fact, or are two sides of the same coin. It matters little to the mortals caught in their path. I'm sure your father would agree.
Yeah.
What was your question?
Rick, how long do Tritons live?
They have about a human lifespan, maybe a little longer. North of 100 years would be unheard of, probably.
I don't suppose... How long have they been a house in Dunfoss?
Vimnus the Senior is the one who arrived here. That was probably 20 or 30 years ago.
Okay, well, I guess it doesn't hurt to ask anyway. I don't suppose you or anyone you know were around for when House Fireblood was officially thrown out.
And he shakes his head and says that he can't help you on that account, unfortunately. This was before his father's time in the city.
Okay.
Would that he had known of the dangers of the abyssal deep earlier. They could have come here and been... They would have had the people of Dunfoss turned by now. Perhaps they should have made an ally of this Fireblood rather than an enemy. Would have suited their needs better. If not for ignorance and hubris, we would be on the right-winning side of this war.
Interesting language. Your contempt for the Firebloods is very interesting.
So my contempt is for myself, and others like me, who fought petty wars over petty crimes and petty misdeeds, before the true danger revealed itself.
Well, we can only fight what we know.
Indeed. The question is, my friends, now that you know of the danger, where do you stand?
Well, I mean, I'm not ready to don a water-breathing cap and head to the bottom of the ocean just yet, but, you know. Certainly don't like the idea of tentacles reaching up from either under the ground or under the sea, wrapping around the sun and snuffing it out, which is what I was always taught as a child.
He asks if he is mistaken, or if his people have seen your people keeping company with the Tiefling known as Journey.
We've been paid by her to do some work. I don't necessarily agree with her politics. I don't think Florian here does either.
Florian shakes his head.
He says he doesn't know about the nature of her work, but the nature of her politics, he thinks, would be good for Dunfoss when it comes to the defense against nightmares from the deep. The responsible use of magic in warfare will be paramount. 24 infighting guilds and magical factions with different ideas on how to wield this power. Squabbling will not help us. But if you do not consider yourselves ally of Journey, I will presume no more.
Well, Journey's position, as far as I know it, is to... She's very anti-magic, isn't she not?
Make an insight check.
Okay. I will try to do that. That is a 16.
16. Your interface with Journey every time has been exactly that. She is anti-magic. This is too dangerous a power for people to be wielding willy-nilly. What you're reading now on Vimnus is he's probably heard that too, and probably directly from her, but he's also a very single-minded man, and he heard what he wanted to hear.
Interesting.
He's wrong about what Journey wants, but he's wrong because if she did want what he wants her to want, that would be very good for him in particular. And it's probably just a sad thing that he's either too stubborn or too blinded by his own mission to see that.
Interesting.
And yes, Vimnus is his real name. Before you start casting shit.
I think that's technically a hostile action anyway.
True.
Yeah, Florian will poke at this.
Okay.
My understanding and my interactions with Journey lead me to believe that she is incredibly anti-magic and sees magic as inherently evil and inherently bad, and would prefer not to have any magic in Dunfoss.
Vimnus says that Journey is young. She doesn't quite understand her own position, I think. But I think she has a good heart, and she's a magical creature by nature herself. If she knew the horrors that I knew, if she'd seen them firsthand, I believe she would do the right thing.
I mean, I definitely agree that she'd love to get rid of every mage's guild. I don't know that she would see the wisdom in unifying all of that under a more powerful common authority that could stand up against the unspeakable horrors of the deeps. I certainly see the wisdom in that, or at least having a joint council, perhaps. But no one asks my opinion on politics.
He apologizes and asks if he can presume one more thing of you, since you've come calling on him.
Absolutely.
He mentioned earlier that he had spoken with Alexander's father socially, but the two weren't close. Says that he had sent over some effects to the ambassador to look into this question of psionic horrors of the Underdark and whether or not these are the same types of aberrations that Vimnus knows. But he fears that he has mistook the ambassador's curiosity in the subject and has not heard word back. This has been over a year now. If you could perhaps put a question to your father on my behalf, I would be appreciative.
I'll do it the next time I talk to him. He can be a little stubborn, so I don't like if he's already made up his mind, he might never get back to you. I've seen that, but I can ask him.
He nods and stands up and says, "Gentlemen, I thank you very much for your visit. I wish that I could have been more help to you. If there's anything you need in the future."
I think you've been...
I guess there is one thing, actually. Are there any, within the merfolk communities here, are there any representatives that you would suggest we talk to if we needed to know more about this old history of the sides that did trade with Eldov initially, that your family was opposed to?
Now, to be clear, there's no merfolk communities at all in Dunfoss.
Okay.
There's a very small population of Tritons.
That's what I meant, sorry.
Okay. The few Tritons that live in the city that aren't part of Vimnus's crew would be considered very strange in Triton communities for the same reason that an elf that has decided to live in the city would be considered very strange amongst elves. What's the goal here? Like, what are you trying to learn from these Tritons?
I'm trying to figure out, like, so wait, but Eldov did establish, like, a trade route. Was it Tritons or Merfolk to get these pearls? Merfolk, okay. Yeah, no, I'll ask him about Merfolk. I mean, I know he might know more about the aquatic peoples than we do. Rather than Tritons, sorry.
He says...
Basically, how can I talk to someone who was on the opposite side of your father's argument back in those days?
Yeah. I get you.
This is perhaps delicate and privileged information, If I were to answer this question truthfully, it could cause damage to those on the other side of it. How can I be sure, not meaning to impugn your character, but how can I be sure that you are a man whose word can be trusted to not misuse the information that lies at the answer to your question?
What would you ask of me to prove that?
He asks you to visit him periodically.
Mm-hmm.
He's found the conversation, short though it must be, because he has other duties to get back to. But he's found the conversation to be what's a good word for this?
Diverting.
That is actually a good word. If you can manage to get word from your father's office on the subject that he asks, that would be a definite step in the right direction. But let us continue to meet periodically.
Okay.
Not so often as though to interrupt our offices, but often enough to build a rapport. And perhaps the day will come when Captain Vimnus and Flumph Inc. can have a conversation about that question. Make an insight check.
Sure.
I don't see why not, though. It would be prudent of me to express that I feel that there are many, many truths, and one person's truth may be a lie to another person, and therefore it is important at all times to access as many truths as we possibly can.
That's a 15 on insight.
Is that what you tell Vimnus?
That's what Florian says, yeah.
And he gets very guarded at the comment. He tells you, the truth is the truth. The world is the world. Reality is reality. And a false truth is a diversion. Do not fool yourself otherwise. 15 on insight. The question you asked him is, how would I get in touch with somebody on the other side of his father's argument? In other words, how would I talk to somebody who had made one of these deals with Fireblood back in the day?
Yep.
The answer to that question would endanger somebody close to Vimnus. He's keeping something or someone secret.
Okay.
But he also respects you enough to not lie about it.
Okay.
And that brings us to the end of our conversation with Vimnus. And we will return now to our slightly eaten Flumph Inks as they return the morning of the 16th.
Oh, let's go get the snappy thing.
Who, and to be clear,
I'll remember that when we disperse the coin.
Right.
there
I
was
get extra.
no rest or sleep the whole way back because this thing was snapping, metal jaws opening and closing, the sound of crack, 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 constantly the entire trip back. The box the cage is holding, but it's rattling back and forth. You've had to try to secure it with ropes, and just the constant iron snapping.
I typed a big tarp to it, and then I put the beads over it. And I said, if it's gonna escape, I don't want to know about it.
And the beads make it just quiet enough to make you think, God damn it, those beads should be working. But the thing is just that pissed off at us. And you get no rest and little or no sleep the whole way back. And, fuck it, it rained the whole time.
I was about to say it could be worse, but...
No, Perkroach was on that. He had that. He had that shit on lock. But no, once we're about an hour out of the city, I will say what we should do is we should have him meet us on the road toward Blue Worm about a mile away from the city, and we'll make the handoff then.
So you're using the sending stone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, since Nodal appears to have monopolized it.
And you hear 25 words, and all of them are just snap, 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 snap.
Get someone to take this goddamn thing off my head, or so help me God, the city's gonna be on fire when I get there.
You can't do it. You don't have burning hands.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I know someone I could convince.
Okay, Tom. You ready to do this?
Tom is very excited to get underway.
Okay.
Man, he is.
In the days that you guys were gone, 'cause it's been almost a week now, he's managed to pull some contacts together. He's got nicer clothes for the trip. He's going to hire on a couple of hirelings, pay them a few silvers a day to make sure that he's not shanghaied on the road by ogres. Very pointedly, he's not going to leave the road either.
What are the odds of like getting shanghaied by ogres twice, right?
If you're on the road, not very good. Like, if you're on the road, it's fairly safe. But he's hired on a couple of men anyway.
And you can, like, disguise yourself on the way out of the city here.
It's a good idea. What is that horrible snapping noise?
Oh, I got good news. It's your new best friend.
It's gonna be your traveling buddy for the next couple of days.
He sends his 2 men off to get as many huge, heavy blankets and furs as he possibly can. Has them draped over the cage and then physically nailed down to the wooden base of the cart. So the constant snapping is now just a faraway, dull knock. But it's rhythmic, and it's still going to drive them crazy the whole journey.
Hey,
No, Journey's
Seeker?
back in Dunfoss.
Seeker?
Yeah.
Do we want to take things out of the bag of holding, or we just want to find out what happens if it suddenly stops working and stuff that we don't want is still in it? Tom's about to... Probably tomorrow morning, I'm expecting that to stop working.
What? What
The
to
bag of
stop
holding.
working?
The bag of holding.
Oh, what's in it? I don't remember.
Water and a hand?
Oh yeah,
the
the
hand we're
vampire
burning.
hand.
The water I've got.
See, okay.
Wait, are you trying to learn the Burning Hand spell so you can burn a hand?
It's right there in the name.
Yeah, it should have a huge penalty to saves on that one.
Okay, so the day of the 16th, where are you burning this hand, I should ask?
I was thinking we just
We
get
go.
some...
We're already a mile out of the city.
Yeah.
Okay. So you, like,
Hike off the road a bit and build a small pyre?
Burn the damn thing.
Yeah.
lay the hand on top of it?
Yeah.
And magical fire, or are you building a fire?
Let's
Well-
start with one and work our way up to the other.
Well, so that's an excellent question because you build a bonfire, right? But then I'm definitely going to cast Prestidigitation to set it on fire. Does that make it magical fire, or is it just a bonfire?
No, it's just a
No, it's
bonfire.
instantaneous.
Yeah, so it's just a bonfire.
Okay. And the hand crackles and blackens, sitting on the pyre.
Does it turn to ash?
Does not turn to ash. Crackles and blackens. The skin starts to split.
Go for the
Lucius-
magic.
Hold on. Lucius, Lucius says, "I'm going to take a page out of Journey's book."
Okay.
He takes a dagger out. He's going to walk up to the pyre,
hmm
and he's going to, like I said, take a page out of Journey's book and give himself a point of slash his hand and discharge his
Rebuke.
hellish rebuke onto the pyre.
Okay, and the white hot fire erupts from your hand in response to the blood that you shed. Give yourself a point of damage.
Yep.
It ignites the whole thing, and the hand crinkles, and its fingers curl up, and its claws come together and meet. And at the end of it, the kindling you have down for your bonfire is burned entirely to ash, and it looks like a charcoal rock sits on top of it.
I'm gonna hit it with my hammer.
No, I'm gonna stop you right there. Hold on. Get everyone back. Bring out 4 vials of acid and just pour them directly on top of the burnt rock.
And there's a sizzle, and it's horrific. And what happens is the outer layer of charcoal and black sizzles and melts away, revealing the untouched gray flesh underneath.
Huh. Okay.
Now the hand, instead of being splayed out like it was, is curled up into a fist with the 5 claws meeting inward at the palm.
This is something. This is something a little more mean than just a simple severed hand.
Yeah. I mean, it attacked Seeker's brain when he tried to magic it.
How much is holy water?
To make holy water.
Actually, guys.
Yeah.
I have an idea. Let's hold on to it for a day and see what happens.
Okay.
Seeker, are you being mind controlled right now by the hand?
No.
Blink twice if you are.
Like, I don't know if we can trust you on that one.
Seeker
Hey,
blinks
Florian, let
3
me-
times.
Florian, get a double check on Seeker for mind control. I'm serious. I'm gonna have to start preparing detect magic myself, apparently.
Alright, well, you guys can all do your bullshit. You can't burn the hand anyway. We can handle that on the way back.
So,
Why don't we pour the water over the hand?
Because I don't want our horrible, evil magic interacting with each other yet. I
Yeah,
want to
it's
do at
probably
least
not the
one
best
test
idea.
first.
Very well.
I'm an agreement seeker.
so
I'm in your court.
Alex, you're
Yeah.
with me. Hand's got to go, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we need to get a box, fill it with, put the hand in there, fill the box with concrete, and throw it in the ocean.
That worked really great for your last box plan.
No, that was not my plan. That was
The
Alex's
ship
plan.
didn't burn down, did it?
It
That
might
was Alex's
have.
plan. That
I
wasn't
don't think
my
I don't
plan.
know about that.
I wanted to throw the demon in the water, and you wouldn't let me.
Exactly. We're not going to throw this in the water either.
Listen, there's a whole ocean, and then
Oh,
like,
by the way, I've been hearing about how the whole ocean is filled with terrible tentacles that want to psychic their way into your mind.
yes,
So
that's
well,
that's what sunk the boat I was on.
So we don't need to give it more tools to do that with.
Yeah, I
right?
don't think we necessarily want to mix those evils.
Yeah.
What was his name? Venus?
Vemnus.
Bendis?
Vimnus.
Vemnus.
Yep.
Goodness.
I've decided that like evil psychic horror tentacle monsters from that are like plaguing the bottom of the ocean is what sunk the boat that Gus was on his way to Dunfaw's.
Vimnus is a fascinating individual. Though. Just talk to him sometime.
Yeah, he seems like I actually like him. He's a little narrow-minded, but I've definitely seen that in Veterans of the Illithid Wars, so
He's a little-
it's not surprising.
A little too lawful
So-
good for my taste, but otherwise.
So, as far as what we want to do with this hand, like,
Oh, I'm bagging it up. Not in the bag of holding because I'm terrified of that now that you've mentioned it. And we'll see what happens tomorrow.
I mean, we could do the whole rip the bag of holding thing.
No, that sounds like a horrible plan.
You don't
where does
like
it go when you do that?
I look at Alex.
Alex shrugs. I don't know. It's not
Exactly.
my.
I
magical
don't like that
device.
idea.
How much would it
I-
cost to open a portal to the elemental plane
The-
of fire?
Like, my understanding from what I'm remembering from my comparative interplanar class is that it would go to something called the astral plane, but I'm pretty sure you can only go to the astral plane if you're made of thought. So I don't know how those square. Also, I got a C in that class, but I earned it.
If you're made of thought,
Yes,
that's a thing that can happen.
that's the only way to go to the astral plane, I think. Again,
Fascinating.
Look, it was a high C. Okay, it was like a, upper half of 70s.
Seeker and Lucius,
Yeah.
you guys have been standing around having this conversation for a long time, and nobody's any closer to knowing what to do with this goddamn hand.
Oh, Seeker has bagged it up, and unless someone is physically tackling him,
No.
he's
no.
like, let's go.
Yeah, no, we're getting the hell
Yeah,
out
we're
of here.
heading back.
So I say we take a look at it when we get back into Dunfaw's. see what
Everybody who's
happens.
been told that their job is to take care of this hand, raise your hand. And Seeker raises his hand.
Do you raise the
Who
hand?
told Lucius raises his hand.
You know, which hand are you raising?
So, what is your plan, Seeker?
I want to see what happens to it. I don't have a plan. I have a suspicion.
This,
Is it a prank? Is this a prank-based suspicion? Okay.
No.
Is there anything else happening the 16th before we go back to the barge for the night?
Yeah, I wanted to visit the emissary. The embassy.
Stop in and see if your dad is receiving visitors?
No, I'm going to avoid my dad at all costs. I'm going to try and find my sister.
Okay.
do you mind if I come with you? Because I don't have anything else
Sure.
to do.
Are you going to break a table again?
I don't have my weapons.
We're gonna go through
That
this.
doesn't stop you.
That doesn't stop you.
We're gonna go through this very quickly. But
Yeah.
she's upset with you because apparently last time you went and visited your father, you broke a table and made him very upset, and now she has to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Look. Look, the one thing that we as a family have always agreed about, is that, as much as most deep gnomes are kind of xenophobic, like, being a member of another culture and experience the world is good, and B, illithids are the worst.
They're the worst.
Like, we all lost family during the Illithid Wars. We all agree on that. Now, have you heard anything about a missive from Captain Vimthos for a very similar sounding threat from the oceans instead of the depths?
She tells you that Vimnus has sold that story to everybody who will listen, and his family has been talking about it for years. But there's no evidence that anything is a threat to Dunfoss.
I mean,
Right.
Gus
But
will,
have we actually investigated it?
Gus will raise his hand and says, I can kind of corroborate this. They sunk the boat I was on, and I'll tell him, not too far from Dunfoss. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it here.
She says it sounds like Vimnus would be very interested in that story. She says, look, brother, I'm not saying that the Illithids are not dangerous. I'm saying that they're very far from the people of Dunfoss, and they're very far from Father's work these days. It's difficult to rouse any action with people with stories of a danger that doesn't exist as far as they're concerned.
I'm just saying, I think Vimnus would be a natural ally. Like, he actually seems to have, even if he's wrong, alright, let's say he's wrong. Let's say he's crazy. He at least seems to have the appreciative paranoia of this sort of thing that you usually only see in deep gnomes or the occasional deep dwarf or someone else who's been a veteran of the Illithid Wars. Like, even if he is literally making everything else up, it would be useful to have him as someone we could maybe collaborate with. I would really think that it could be useful if we at least do some investigation and at least open a dialogue on friendly terms with him.
She
He has
says
a lot of resources.
that if Vimnus has anything that can be done to further causes of Deep Xerxif, and if you can facilitate that door opening between this office and that would probably go a long way to smoothing things over with your father.
You know that no matter what I do to smooth things over with my father, he'll be angry at me again, probably before he finishes that thought.
Probably.
But I'll try. Maybe I'll go talk to Vimnus and say, hey, maybe you can send one of your underwater ships to the Sunless Sea, and maybe bring some aid to the Deep Murksiv people as a show of good faith, and then we could open a dialogue.
Did you tell her about the missive that Vimnus apparently sent?
Yeah.
Okay. She says she'll look into it and see if the office ever received it. But more than that, she
Yep,
can't
and-
really
Okay.
promise.
Thank you. Don't tell Dad I was here if he's still mad at me.
Oh, don't worry. She doesn't want to get yelled at again either.
Bye, it was nice to meet you.
See, she's much nicer than my father.
The last thing we'll do this week is all of you are sleeping safe and cozy and tucked in your beds.
No, don't do this again, Brick Road. Don't do
Seeker,
this again, please.
Seeker.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
You have an incredible dream. You dream that you're watching what looks to be battle between two dwarves. Both of them decked out in what you've come to expect as like full dwarven plate armor. The current king of Dunfoss is a dwarf. A lot of dwarves, their knights hold lands, some manors inside of the city. So even if you're not a martial man yourself, you can notice the dwarven armor and see its make. But the two dwarves are fighting, which is very uncommon. They usually don't settle differences with violence or combat. And for some reason, you find yourself hating one of these two dwarves. They're going after each other with axes. They're fighting in what looks like a great feast hall. And one of them strikes the other down with a great blow to the chest. The one that you feel this hatred towards. And he stands over his fallen foe and kneels next to him. His axe clatters to the ground. And he grabs him up about the torso and hoists him. And you see his face go down and bite into his neck. And you reach forward to try to help him. And you look at your outstretched hand, and it's not your hand. And you wake up, startled in the middle of the night. Where did you leave the hand when you went to sleep?
In a sack by the bed.
What do you suppose the chances are it's still there?
Low to middling.
What do you do about it?
Where I cast detect object, looking for the hand. Locate object.
I mean, did you leave the sack where you can see it from your bed?
Yeah.
Okay. The sack is still there when you glance over at it. You cast detect
I
object?
open it up. Well, I open it up and see if the hand's in there.
Open it up, and the hand is there, and it's in the same position that you left it. And there's something about you that's surprised, because you would have thought there was a low to middling chance that's where you would find it.
Yeah. Seeker goes out over to the chalkboard and gets out the chalk and starts writing down Seeker's list of prophetic dreams. I figure we can just keep like a whiteboard.
And that's where we'll call
Watch
it
out
there
for
for the week.
Oh, a question about the hand. Does it still look all clenched?
Yes, it's in the same position you left it in.
Okay.
It's not balled into a fist like you were going to hit somebody. Like, try to touch the middle of your palm with all of your digits at once. That's the position this hand is in.
Yeah.
Is it still charred to a crisp?
No. Because you guys poured acid all over it.
Real quick, how much? I'll just probably look in the PHB. I think I'm gonna see how much holy water is.
Oh, yes, you did ask that. I started looking into it, and we got sidetracked on something else. So the thing about holy water is, to make holy water, you use the bless spell, but holy water is also a component of the bless spell.
You can use the ceremony spell.
Yes, you can.
Ceremony spell creates it too.
A flask of holy water is 25 gold. So what you're actually doing, you're not just going to a store and buying it off the shelf. What you're doing is hiring a priest or an acolyte to make it for you.
Right.
But yeah, it's available. There's lots of temples in Dunfoss. You can buy it from wherever you want.
So, question. Okay, so if it requires the bless spell, does that mean technically that Florian can make holy water?
That's a good question. Well, I can really only cast Bless because it's name-based.
Well, it says you can, like, my understanding is you could cast it using a spell slot if you don't know their name.
I think you're right. I think that's true.
Like,
It doesn't really change the cost. It's
It becomes
the components are
Florian water.
25 gold pieces of silver, or 25 gold pieces worth of powdered silver.
Wait, it's not the bless spell that I'm thinking of then, because I'm looking it up now. It doesn't say anything about holy water.
I think you're thinking of ceremony.
Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they moved it into ceremony. I think it was blessed in older editions.
Ah, and a net hack, so.
oh, okay, so it's a special ritual that can be performed by clerics or paladins, so it requires 25 gold pieces of powdered silver. Okay.
Yep. So it's not a spell, it's just its own thing, and then they also rolled it into the ceremony spell when they released Xanathars, I think.
I know what you're thinking, Lucius. I don't know that I want any holy water that you imbue.
I'm interested to see what would happen if I tried that.
So I'm going to go dark for 2 minutes and find out why my dog is barking and barking and barking and barking and barking. And you guys can think about some blips. I'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Really going ham over there. Who's the most creative today?
I mean, that levitate spell pays extreme dividends.
Never take a combat spell.
I'm
For
gonna
the
get
party's
you.
goals today. I'm okay with levitate some more.
I mean, I did prevent the party from getting blown up by doing due diligence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
no, you
anti-take
did.
that from Gus.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll take it away from Gus and give it to
I asked
for
Brick
party
Road.
goals.
I specifically says, is there anything outwardly wrong with the boxes? Does it look intact? Yep. Okay.
Who is the one of us who constantly tells us we're investigators?
No, I'm a fighter. I fight things.
So you're an adventurer.
No, I'm a fighter. I fight things.
You're an adventurer.
No.
Let's be real. So we're thinking Alexander for party assist.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay. Who's a badass today?
I don't know if it's. I'm gonna say Lucius and his stubborn insistence that we go get this stupid Gnarljack.
Feels more
Next
like
time
an
we're-
intangible.
Next time Brickard starts telling us to roll dice, we're rolling for goddamn initiative. First round, we got that thing. Just saying.
I think that's good for intangible. Yeah.
So what do we have for badass?
I mean, I would say Alex has a gun now. That's innately more badass. But we already.
I don't know. The only thing I can think of that I did was telling the gentleman not to that the horse was.
Oh,
not
you know
to
what?
go.
No, I'm gonna vote badass for eating the apples.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm good
no,
with that.
You're right.
Pretty
You're right.
good.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Giving absolutely no
Brooks
fucks.
had good fun.
Oh, have we told Gustavus that this lady's actually a drow and that's really hilarious?
Probably. I mean, I would have, unless someone. I wouldn't have even listened if someone told me not to tell Gustavus. Gustavus comes in on the ground floor of everything, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have told you not to.
Yeah, same. So it's just like, oh yeah. By the way, all those apples you're stealing from that lady, yeah, she's a drow. So have fun sleeping with that knowledge in your brain.
They were delicious.
They were good. I'm glad that Secret can prestidigitation that on the crap apples now.
I can turn it whatever you want as apples. Doesn't have to be apples. Bread
Is there
apples.
is there something cheaper than apples?
All
Red apples.
right. My next door neighbor got a new dachshund. I think its name is
Oh.
Nina, and that's what Edgar was barking at.
Oh, is Edgar not?
Oh, I need a
I
friend.
thought
Riddy
that
is
was Riddy.
Riddy is well behaved. She will not bark unless there's like a reason. Like
I
if
feel like a new dachshund is a very good reason to bark.
Yeah.
oh she'll go
I love
outside.
dachshunds.
She'll go outside
I will-
and bark at the dachshund if she's outside, but she wasn't outside. She's in her playpen right now.
I love dachshunds, and I will not truck any besmirching of that beautiful dog.
My mother has a Chiweenie, so basically he just looks like a Chihuahua with like little tiny stumpy legs.
Yeah.
Pretty hilarious.
My favorite Chiweenie that I've ever seen was they have the really long body, the Chihuahua head, and then like Chihuahua legs on stumpy, like Chihuahua paws on stumpy, like Dachshund legs.
Like if you just stretch Riddy out lengthwise a little bit.
And then like squish her a little bit, like where she's shorter, closer to the ground. Like this dog's belly, like scrape the ground.
Drags.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom's Chiweenie does. Like he's always dragging his belly around wherever he goes. She insists he's not fat though. All right, you guys didn't get into any combat this session. This was kind of a rebuilding session in between serious
We tried.
combat adventures.
We tried very hard to fight that hand. It did not work.
The hand is just too stubborn. But hopefully I gave you guys enough stuff to get into trouble next week, and let's get some blips going. Who wants to go first?
I could go.
Seeker.
I've got chaotic good. Good is only taken from those that can afford it. Chaos is taking them for all it's worth. Where when our companion there was telling us that we were going to be paying for the cart and the horse and stuff, and then he'd take his cut, telling him, yeah, that's great, and then you're going to be driving that car back to us then.
No, that was me joking about Tom's. Tom wasn't actually saying he was going to steal your guys' money.
Seeker took him very seriously. Opportunity is everywhere if you can see it. For at the beginning of the session, convincing everyone to go back into the vampire hole because who knows what's down there.
Probably vampires.
And flaws. Anybody be fooled except for me. Keeping hold on the hand and not letting anyone take it away. He's confident he can get the better of it.
How confident?
Fairly confident. Seeker's suspicion is that they have accidentally used the charges of a magic item, and he was hoping that it was going to restore itself.
Okay.
None to middling? What was that phrase you used?
It's going to be interesting to see what Seeker does now that he's having terrible hand nightmares.
His hand's doing a real job on me.
His name is now Revolver Ocelot.
What kind of job is the hand doing on you?
Revolver Ocelot.
Brick Road, stop. No, don't go there. That's
I didn't go anywhere.
We can't put that on YouTube, Brick Road.
We started there. Who's next?
I'll go. Neutral good. I must be a benefactor and strive to leave things in a better state. That forgiving all the, the children on the street kids, giving them free food. That like this lady is rich and she had way more apples than was reasonable to have, and she's never gonna notice.
And
For all you know,
did it out of
apples.
You did it out of spite, though.
No, I didn't feed the horse out of spite. Ideal, my companions are my support structure, and I must do what I can to protect them from themselves. For arguing, no, let's not go in the hole. We're not adventurers. Let's go home. These things tried to eat us, but still going down there when everybody outvoted me.
And what happened when you went down there?
Nothing. But one day
Nothing.
I'm going to... I mean, we found an evil hand.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, one day I'm going to literally throw both gnomes over my shoulder and just walk away.
So what is the better outcome for Gus? Outcome number one, you go down to the vampire hole and find an evil hand that now lives on your boat now with you. Outcome number two, you don't go down the vampire hole and there's an evil hand out there somewhere in a vampire hole that you don't know anything about.
Number two sounds an awful lot like somebody else's problem. But, like... But, like, you know, we went down there, so it's a moot point. It's like, we just have this freaking hand now. I'm going to be very upset if they don't let me dump holy water on it.
What else do you have?
You're gonna be very upset
That's it.
then.
I didn't get a chance to go drinking today.
Okay, who's next?
Florian will go.
Florian.
Ideals. There are infinite truths. We must experience as many as we can and figure out their validity. For getting the sand elf / drow elf to admitting she's got massive magic to keep the charade up for 20 years.
Oh, one more thing.
Mhm.
Video.
We didn't play last week.
Playing week before last, though.
Oh, that's true. Should I give him a flip for that, though? I mean, seems kind of unnecessary. I guess I'll give one to him. But this counts as your birthday present. And you've interrupted Florian. Florian,
Sorry.
please continue.
It's all right. Flaws. There's always an explanation, and we must always consider it. Because while Seeker and this church go back and forth in this wild Death Note escapade, Florian believes every single thing that comes out of both of their mouths.
How can that possibly be true?
It's like, I know you know.
Because that's what he does, is that he just believes both are true.
Okay.
There's always an explanation, and we must always consider it.
So, for Florian, outcome number one, Seeker takes the evil hands to the Temple of Garl Glittergold, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll take that off your hands for you and dispose of it. Outcome number two, they say, no, this hand isn't our problem. I'm sure you'll find some way to deal with it, and now it lives on your boat. Which does Florian prefer?
Ooh. I think number two. Number two is more interesting.
So, you definitely are in camp evil hand on the boat.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds that way.
That's it, Florian.
All right, who's next?
I'll go.
Lucius.
Alignment, lawful neutral. Take your place in society. Work well for your fellow people. Take care of your own. I had an answer for this and it came back, so I'll come back to it in a sec.
Okay.
His ideal knowledge is paramount for being in Camp Evil Hand on the boat. And then I have his flaw, double or nothing, for double or nothing on the chain beasts. We went double or nothing on the chain beasts, and we won.
What is Lucius's interest in this evil hand?
What is Lucius's interest in this evil hand? Is he wants to know about it. Like he genuine, like, not scientific curiosity, but the magical equivalent of scientific curiosity.
Okay. Anything else?
There's something I did. I got the alignment for working well for people because we did go back into the vampire hole to see if there were any more vampires, and luckily there weren't. But Lucius was very much in favor of this house of vampire halflings just it needs to not. Let's make sure we're thorough about this.
How confident is Lucius that vampires can't turn invisible?
As confident as anyone could possibly be.
Less confident than 4 minutes ago, though.
Low to
Probably.
middling.
And
Low to middling.
what does Alexander have for me?
All right, Alexander's got his alignment, lawful neutral. Sorry, I tapped away. Always willing to take the law into your own hands, but no further for his agreement with the Drow's plan. Nothing illegal about it. We'll just make sure that on the books it doesn't look too suspicious to draw any attention to it.
Lawful neutral. That's why you got on so well with that GIF.
He's got his ideal, which didn't come up, and he's got his flaw. I'm sure we can handle this for immediately after talking to the captain, going to try and talk to not his father, because he knows better than that, but someone at the embassy
Okay.
that he isn't with.
Sorry, I had like 3 inappropriate questions for that GIF, and I want Adrix to get a blip for them. Oh my god. Just the things that were popping into my head.
Was Adrix coming back for a minute? Was that what happened?
There, yeah.
Aegis
How do you
gonna laugh.
fire the gun with rhino hands? That's amazing. Shit like
I mean,
Hippo
Adrix had the
hands.
opportunity to
Hippo
answer
hands.
those questions. He had the opportunity to ask those questions. We bet a GIF in the last campaign.
Yeah, Ironheart.
We
Yeah.
did.
when?
When we went to the southern lands. Briefly.
Yeah, there was one on the ship at the very end.
Okay.
But there was
He had
also
a
one.
gun?
Yeah, he had a gun.
Oh
Sure did.
man.
Here, I'm gonna post
Never
the
mind,
GIF
I guess
in.
Adrix doesn't deserve blips at all.
To be fair, there were a lot of crazy characters on that ship on the last session or two.
I should probably link the straw poll here in a second. And then link that, and then this awesome picture of the 5th edition GIF. So you'll bear with me 1 second. There is the straw poll, and here is the GIF. He's awesome. Love that guy.
Love gifts.
Who had the most creative solution to a problem this session?
Levitate doing work. As Levitate do.
Seeker?
Yeah.
Yep.
Who furthered the party's goals the most?
Preventive maintenance. Preventing an explosion.
Was that really the party's goals, to prevent an explosion?
Not exploding
mean-
is a pretty big goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's an
that is a
unstated goal,
pretty
but it is.
solid- Yeah.
For this party,
It's an implied goal. It's an implied
Look,
goal.
how many parties actually do preventive maintenance? Come on.
I really was looking forward to that happen. Like, well, either like it's gonna happen while you guys are in town, and then you have a combat encounter against the things, or You're out of time. When you come back, something terrible has just happened. Who was the badass this week?
That was Gustavus.
Okay.
For eating the apples.
Yep.
That was the most badass. All right, fine.
Stealing from a drow? Like, yeah?
All right, let's. What about intangibles?
Lucius. Because Lucius is suicidally insane.
It's the
Single-minded desire to get that steel
Gnarljack.
thingy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it actually gets where it's going, and Tom Wolfe is not pulling the wool over your eyes, it's a big payday.
Honestly, I'd like to see him try that now.
I like to
wouldn't
imagine he came up with the scam and then just got trapped because he's like, oh, thank God, we don't. I'm not gonna run this one on these guys because they've done some crazy stuff. But then Lucius just wouldn't let it go.
So I've got Alexander taking 3 blips this week, putting you at 6.
Yep.
Florian is at 6 and is earning 2 blips right now. You guys are what, level 4? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So blips are worth 126 points.
Okay.
So Florian, both of yours have to roll over. Gus is at 6 and earned 4, all of which have to roll over. Lucius is at 5 and earned 4.
I spent 2 this session.
You spent 2, so you're at 3 and you earned 4. So you've got to roll over at least 1.
Yeah.
And Seeker got 6 and earned 5. Is everybody going into next session with 6 blips?
Possibly. What's the did you say?
6,500.
6,500.
What was the value per blip?
126.
Oh, 126.
Yes.
What was 6,500?
That's level 5.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd be short, so I'm going to keep them as blips. Yep, I got 6 blips.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
And so we're just just blip experience, no other experience on top of that?
There was no combat this session.
Okay.
You will never get experience that's not combat experience or blip experience.
Okay, I didn't know if there was like blips for any other side goals or anything like that. Anyway. Yep, going to next session with 6.
All right. Sounds good to me.
I am 149 experience away if I cashed in all my blips from level 5.
Sounds like it's not worth it then.
Cash them in now or forever hold your peace.
No, I'm not cashing them in.
All right.
Maybe next time.
All right. That'll do it for us today. Thanks for playing, guys.
Yay.
See everybody next week.